As we've come back from a long week of editing, revising, and creating our own work, I just thought I'd make a little tutorial as to what we're doing with MLA Citation. This whole activity really has little to do with creative writing and just ensuring that as a writer you understand the idea of borrowing ideas or using MLA Citation as required in all English courses. Some of you may never have gone over this before, so I wanted to give you a couple of ideas as to resources that you can use. In addition to that, I'm going to show you what the assignment is specifically asking you. Okay, so as we go through this entire unit, above this you're going to see lots of information about plagiarism, some links, some ideas, and how to prevent it. When we get back down to the assignment at the very bottom, it's asking you to practice using MLA in-text citation as well as works cited. Okay, so these first two questions, 1 and 2, are to do with the information above. Down below, it states that there are many resources that you can use. These are some of them that I'm going to show you today that you can use on your own. If you're not familiar with these, it's important to try and get familiar with them, just so that you know how to do citation, as well as the idea that nobody has to memorize the citation guide. And the idea of a citation generator is very, very helpful to writers now because you basically have to type in a small amount of information. It can pull it from a database to say, here's the rest of the information, or fill it in, and I'll format it for you. So if you're looking for resources, they're at the very bottom of the page. So let's look at what it's asking you in question number 3. And I'm just going to snip it so that you can see specifically what question we're working on right here. So for your first exercise in using MLA Citation, it says use the following quotation, this one here, in a short paragraph. Think about introducing it and giving it the correct reference information. So 2 things that you need to know is that when you do referencing and citation in MLA, some of you may have practiced this in APA, in history, or social sciences, that there's in-text citation as well as a works cited or a reference list. So we're talking about in-text citation when it says introducing it and giving it the correct reference information. You need to know the following before you do this, that it's a quotation under 4 type lines in the original text, that the author is Jane Pace, and that it appears on page 37 of a book. So here's the key thing, is that I'm looking for in-text citation. So I looked up on OWL Purdue, which is one of my more usable websites. It's not listed in your resources, but I like it. And it had specifically how to cite in text, which means in brackets, you're either going to put 1 or 2 things. If you introduce the author within it, then you're going to just put the page number. If you don't state the author, then you have to state the author and the page number. So when we look at this, we have a quotation, we have the page and the author. So what I did is I actually created my own. So I copied and pasted, so I typed it up here. I said, Jane Pace wrote, language that excludes does in fact have a detrimental effect on a person's self-perception and sense of self-worth. When one writes, thinking about the language they can use can have a profound effect on your reader. However, it is important to think about the broader audience, whom you are excluding from understanding or connection by language you include, who turns away from the writing because it does not appeal to them as a reader or a thinker. I created all of this just based on this quote. I started with the quote, but I included the author's name. So if I want to do in-text citation, if I just included the quote and I took this out, then I would have to put the author's name. So it's important to pay attention to how it's supposed to be formatted and then how you include it within in-text citation. So let's look at the second one. Question number 4 is asking you, to do somewhat of the same but a different format. So let's isolate that one so we know exactly what we're doing. And I've given you another example there as well. Using the quotation below, it is a poem. Use it in a short paragraph. Think about using the quotation and giving the correct reference information. So it's lines 8, 9, and 10. It's 3 lines. It's Carlinda Del Monte, and it appears on page 57 of the book. So I had to look up in-text citation quoting for poems. And what I found is that if it's 4 or more lines, then you have to indent it. Because it's only 3, then you have to use it fewer than 3 lines of verse. I used a slash just to indicate the 3 different lines. And even though it's here that it's only 2, that I still included it like this, just because it was in order to break up the different lines. If you have it longer, then you have to indent and keep it all together. So what I found is when you want to indent, that it is the same format, or when you want to include, it's the same format. So because the author is included here, it's just the line numbers. So when I went to include it in a reference, I said imagery is a vital tool of poets. It brings the reader from their realm into another simply by painting a picture using visual or other sensory ideas. I made all of this up. You'll see the quote right here. Because I put her name, I don't have to put it here at the citation, right? Noticing that the period goes at the end and that I put the citation right after the quote, even though it continues, right? That's what's important here. So if in a poem, if I take out her name, and D, then I have to include it in the works cited. Okay, so that's what you have to work on, is using these in your own statement, and then simply using the resources that you have. How do you create a works cited, or a in-text citation? This last one is to do, and it continues on to practice that again in a short paragraph. The last one is to do a works cited entry. So here we have the name, the title, when it was published, obviously online. So this is a URL. And here we have the author. So you could look up the format using in-text citation, MLA in-text citation, and look for website. I'm going to show you a couple more resources that I have used. All right, so one of them is Citation Machine. And I like Citation Machine because it includes in-text citation. You can click on MLA format and include that information. Something else that I like with Google Docs is that if you go into add-ons, I've already created it, but you can actually get add-ons. When you click on this, it'll give you a list of extra tools that you can get. And EasyBib, if you have to search for it, right up here, if you don't see it there, EasyBib is a really good one because it's built into Google Docs. It says manage for me because I've already downloaded it. If you see that it has this, that just means that you want to add it. So now that I'm here, if I want to, I've already managed it into my add-ons. I'm actually going to create a bibliography that I just have to type in, and I'll get to that in just a minute. I'm going to copy and paste this URL, see if it works, if it's an actual source or if it still exists. We'll see. I'm going to make sure that it's a website and that I'm in MLA, because you have options to do APA or a number of different other styles, but I'm going to go MLA 8th edition. And because I've selected website, I'm going to hit in the URL and search it. And therein lies part of the problem. It probably doesn't actually exist. So, but this is a good resource. If I do the same in Citation Machine, it may not work. So I'm going to see what resources I have down here. So what I have found is EasyBib has a guide as well as apps, but I really just wanted the information because it wasn't all there, and EasyBib wasn't able to find it. So I'm going to enter it manually, and I found 4 MLA 8 for a website, this is the format. So what I did is I copied and pasted this information into my document so that I can somewhat piece it together. So this is the format that I got from EasyBib. So the last name is Shaw, and the first name is Caitlin. There are times when generator apps, sorry, can't talk today, don't actually work that well. And so sometimes you have to enter it manually. The power of discourse. And we're missing some information, so we will simply take that out. And what we do have is the date of publication in day, month, year. Publication date is day, month, year. 10 April 2005. And URL. Actually, we can just say it was found here. So not all the information is there, but this is what we have. Often with a website, you'll have more. Just want to make sure that this is all the same font. And one of the extra things that you need to do is indent. So I've often needed to teach people how to do this in Google Docs because it won't always work. We don't need this anymore because we have our works cited reference bibliography. So we're going to put our cursor on the second line and we need to indent it. So we're going to move it over to here for that arrow, and we're going to move this top bar back over. So what that does is it moves the second line down and every line after that. So that's a 12-minute guide as to what this assignment is. Let me know if you're having any problems or need to have a little bit of assistance knowing what MLA citation is.